Well, I sent Brian off on an adventure this week. He's going to go get some Alaska in his soul. I'm going to do some garden tower adventures, or garden tower updates, I guess. It's not really an adventure, but it's something that fills my soul. So thanks for coming along, and I hope you enjoy.
Rick called. He's going to take this boat back across the Cook Inlet, across the Williamsport Road. We did this last year. Hopefully this year I won't lose my drone. This year we got Doe with us. That's Doe. We've been watching the weather, the wind, the tides, trying to pick the right time to go, and it's time to go. So we're off again. Same waters that we went to Seldovia in. Life in Alaska is a little bit different in that, you know, you're not going with your buddies to the football game. I don't know, you're not all going to go out and ride your Harleys together. You know, you just do different things. And this is, look, you live in Alaska, you're going to know somebody that's got a boat, you're going to end up out on it kind of helping do something someday. It's just kind of the way it works. There's a whole bunch of sea otters. Takes about 7-8 hours to get across. We're moving about 10 miles an hour, about 10 gallons an hour. Well, good morning. We made it in last night. It took us 11.5 hours to get across, to go 70 miles. The wind was blowing in our face. There were a couple times where the tides were in our favor, and then it shifted and they were against us. And he's got some continued issues with the boat, with the jets, so can't really go as fast as it's designed to go. But it's time to fish. You fish with what you got. So we made it in here the first try last night. We didn't get stuck in the mud. Actually, at one point I was able to use my phone and zoom in on the Google Earth map, and you can see the channel, and then we could follow the GPS on the channel. I mean, he's got a depth finder also to kind of see where it's shallow, but bottom line, we made it in, and we're the only ones here. So we should be pulled out today, hiked up over the hill and into Lake Iliamna, and be on our way cruising down the lake the day after we left, which is just crazy compared to last time. There's two ways to get your boat to Homer or back. One is to drive all the way down the Aleutian Islands, cut across at False Pass, and come all the way back up. And that's a time and a fuel burner. The other is to cut across here to this hole in Iliamna Bay. There's a family here that's been doing this for 100 years. They bring the big tractors down, they put your huge boat on a trailer, they pull it up over the mountains and put you into Lake Iliamna. You motor down Lake Iliamna all the way to the Kvichak River. You go down the Kvichak River and into Bristol Bay.
I'll let the boat warm up, Joe.
I don't know if I ever gave you guys a tour of the boat or not. It's got a kitchen. It actually sleeps 7. It's got a bathroom, the shower. Obviously the helm there. And then the pilot house up here. That's my favorite part. It's got a little bed up there. You're up high. You can views all around. As I described to you, we came in last night. We were first here. We're the only ones in the hole. We anchored up, went to bed, got up this morning. The guys put the trailer in about 9 o'clock. We started to pull the anchor in. Of course, it doesn't pull the anchor in. It pulls the boat towards the anchor. And it pulled the boat right up onto a mud bar. So we had to wait for the tide to come in. There's the tide has come in. It's lifted the boat. Now we're drifting back and forth. So even though we made it through the treacherous part without a problem and anchored up, went to sleep, we still got stuck in the mud. And this year, the depth is not here. The trailer comes down at an angle. The boat gets onto the trailer, and then you got to motor the boat, push the boat forward as the trailer's coming up out of the water. And it's all going to be on their level, because when it goes over that bridge, if it's leaning too far to one side or the other, it'll hit the boat. Now, as the back of the boat goes down, you can see the jet motors start to push mud. Right? It's getting into the mud. Look down the center of the trailer there. It's not in the middle. It'll hit the bridge when you go across. So the other guy, his neighbor there in the yard, he had to go all the way down to False Pass and cut across and come all the way back up. 2,000 miles, 1,400 gallons of diesel. Takes him 5 or 6 days. And the whole reason that he's got to go all the way down and back up is that his boat is too wide to fit across that bridge. So the width of these boats, when they build them, is dictated by the bridge on this little road here we're going to go on. right, what's your name?
Gage?
Gage. This is Gage. He was my cameraman when I was flying the drone. Thank you, Gage. Appreciate you. When the boat gets too close, they put boards underneath the tires to lift it up on one side, give it a little more clearance. Back. It's kind of uneventful, you know. It's uneventful this time because I did it once before, right? Most of it's on the other video. We are headed across Lake Iliamna. Launched early this morning. I just got up, been sleeping. Unbelievably clear day, and the views are just insane. Super smooth today. Just that never happens out here. So it ought to be pretty easy to spot. What do they call it? Lake Iliamna monster. See that right there? You see the difference in water patterns? I don't know what makes that. And I've asked that question to a lot of different people. And what I was told that made the most sense is they said that's where fresh water is blending with salt water. However, this is a freshwater lake. So if you know what causes those patterns on the water, I would be really excited to hear the answer. We are passing through the village of Iggiaghi. What's the village?
Iggiaghi.
Iggiaghi.
Hello.
And they said that a couple of boats went through here and made a wake so deep that it sank like 7 boats. So you got to go through here really slow. This is where the water gets real shallow. And I think there's no real tide here, is there, Doe?
No, I don't think so.
So you get stuck. You just stuck.
Yeah.
Let's see if we get a better view up here. There's a Russian Orthodox church right there. You can see the little towers on them. Yeah, boy, the mosquitoes and flying bugs come out right away. This is a nervous time. I think they can run this boat in about 2 feet of water. It's a jet, you know. But man, you get stuck on a sandbar here, you're not getting off it quickly. Whatever's happening above the water is happening below the waters. There. Some air. Look at that. What is that down there? Something's got to hit. Last year. Starting to pick up a little bit. That adds another element to the journey. Trying to fight the wind and the shallow water. Here's a marker in the river. I don't know if you can see that little white marker. It tells you where the channel's at. Only thing is I don't know what it means. You go on that side or that side of the marker. I have no idea. An adventure with Rick. I believe this is what they call the braids of the Kvichak River. Pretty shallow. This looks like a nice place to fly the drone. For a little while.
I don't know about retrieving them.
Yeah, fly it, but not land in it, yeah. They got a pole with tapes at 1 foot increments. And Bo just sticks it in the water, figure out how deep it is.
Mark Twain.
5 almost.
Mark Twain.
Yep. Yeah, like Mark Twain. I'm gonna push the boat along. Saying these marks in the ground here are from ice. Make those formations in the bottom of the riverbed. Reminds me a bit like the Stockton Delta. You know, there's a lot of channels that split off and they come back eventually. It's also, the Mushkak River's like this a lot.
Caribou.
Marker in the river here. So who put the markers in the river?
Right on the way down.
The skiff went by?
Way back up there, yeah.
Yeah.
He stopped and he hollered at me.
Oh, all
Go
right.
on the right side of the corks.
All right.
We got this all marked out.
That's kind of nice, yeah. Look at that. Boy. So one of the guides came out and put buoys down to mark the channel so the big fishing boats aren't going back and forth. That's really cool. This is just so cool. I don't know if you can see that little buoy in the water right there, but one of them fishing guides has come out here and marked the channel so you don't have to guess where the deep channel is with the big boat. He came out here and marked it for all these big fishing boats. That's just fantastic. Currently 4:30 in the afternoon. We have made it all the way down the Kvichak River. We're now in what they call the Salmon Flats, and this is a big delta that at low tide is almost impossible to get a boat through. So we are probably going to get stuck here in the mud any minute. You can see the mud out here to our right. So I had a chance to talk with a surgeon this morning. I sent him some pictures of my side and its lack of healing, and he said, "Ooh, that doesn't look normal." It's not looking good. Kind of makes a picture there, and you can see the channel. So it should be going up the middle.
Garden tower update. My zucchini has done pretty well, although I get pretty small little zucchinis from it. I don't know, they actually more look like cucumbers. They taste great and they're zucchini, but I think the zucchini has lived its life. It's done really, really well, but I think it's just taking up a lot of nutrients for the rest of the vegetables. And every time I say I'm going to pull it, I end up getting a couple new growths down here. As you can see, I've got one here, and then there's another one right down there, but they're pretty small. And like I said, they're just, I don't think they're worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, I think is the phrase. So today is the day that my poor little zucchini plant is going to be pulled out. I have some other plants that need those nutrients. So time for the zucchini to be taken out of the garden. I don't think that my regular kitchen scissors are going to get this. So I'm going to actually go out to the garage and get Brian's garden clippers. Yep. The chickens are going to have a nice feast with that. Brian made me a new cover. One that doesn't fall in. So that's nice. So I'm going to put this in a little jar of water with a little bit of hydrogen peroxide, food grade hydrogen peroxide, just a very, very, very tiny amount. I'm going to see if I can clean these roots up a little bit, see if I can get them a little healthier. If I can, then I will transplant them down in this bottom one here because I think they'll grow really well there. But otherwise, that might be why my sage plant has these dark leaves, might be kind of dying a little bit. So I'll see if I can bring that back to life. And then my cucumbers, I have 2 cucumber plants. One of them was flowering plentifully, as you can see. The other one had no flowers on it. My tower garden was turned that way, and so this cucumber plant was getting lots of natural sun, and this one was not. So I'm thinking maybe it might be the natural sunlight, but I don't know. So I'm going to rotate the tower garden just a little bit and see if that might be the magic sauce that does it. And then I've been self-pollinating these flowers over here to see if that works for getting some fruit on. And then over here, the cilantro is doing really well. So is the basil. Got some really nice healthy basil there. Strawberries. This is our first year doing strawberry. Well, obviously our first batch of strawberries, and I have one little strawberry fruit there and another little strawberry fruit there. But I'm just fascinated by the cucumbers, watching them just vine and do their thing. They figure out what they need and they find places to wrap. So it's kind of cool to watch how they do that. And then every day we come in and they might be somewhere different. Well, that's it for my tower garden update. Till next time.
Here's my bed, by the way, in case you're wondering where it's. We're back up and running this morning. The tide has come in. We're floating again. We're able to see where the channel is. Here we go. We're rolling. This here is what they call set netters. you can see the orange buoy and the little white plugs. So we've been on this journey across the Williamsport Road and down Lake Iliamna, down the Kvichak River, and here we are now in Naknek, one of the villages. We pulled in yesterday, got pulled out, dry docked because Rick wanted to change his impellers. It's just kind of interesting, you know, I'm just like on this little adventure, and then you guys have been watching all the crazy things that we do in my garage with all the goofy stuff. And you get out here in the middle of nowhere and it's more goofy stuff. These jet pumps work kind of like a cylinder in a car with piston and rings, you know, except there's a turbine that spins in the middle of the cylinder. The cylinder walls are not round, they're oblong. So as that turbine spins around, it's supposed to grab water and force it through, and that's what makes the jet work. And it seems how the cylinder wall is oblong, it loses water pressure every rotation. It's kind of like an engine block that has a sleeve for the cylinder, right? And if those cylinders get worn out, you can take those out and you can re-sleeve them. You can put a new sleeve in, you get a fresh new engine seal for your pistons. In this case, the engine block, the thing that holds the sleeve, is made out of fiberglass. I don't get it. Like, who would do that? Fiberglass is a flexible material. I'm just speechless why you would create a round fiberglass structure and put a metal sleeve in it and expect it to hold some type of tolerance, like 25 thou on either side of this turbine that's spinning. These are the things that Rick's been dealing with. Another problem is that the boat builder mounted those motors in and mounted the jets off center to the output of the shaft of the engine. And so the driveline has a bit of a kink to it, you know. They're not supposed to do that. U-joints are there to compensate for little differences, not for engineering problems. He's got this big giant boat he spent $500,000 on, and he can't go more than 8 knots. It doesn't get up on step, you know, so it just pushes through the water. And that's without fish. You put 10,000 pounds of fish in it, and you can't hardly move. We ran down that Kvichak River with the old turbines because he figured if he got stuck in the rocks and the mud like last time, he'd tear up the old turbines. We'd get here, he'd switch them out, put in nice fresh ones. And so that's why we stopped, pulled it out. $800. $800 for a tractor to come down this road, pull them out of the water, park them right here for a night, and put them back in. $800. That's the cost of doing business in Alaska. So if you wonder why your sockeye salmon at Safeway is, you know, $29 a pound or something, that's why. So last night, these guys are working on those turbines, and I was just kind of wandering around looking at things, trying to understand, like, how do you get these jets now that are off-center to the engine, and you can't move the engines over, so can you move the jets? Well, that goes all underneath, and I was down there looking at it, and while I was down there, I realized that the guys who set the boat for $800, who set the boat on dry dock, had put these wooden blocks not underneath the transom. They put them over here under the middle of the boat, and the middle of the boat was bowing up like it was gonna push that fiberglass through. Just we were joking when these guys were pulling Rick out, you know, because when we did the Williamsport Road, they put a strap on the boat to hold it to the trailer, and when they did it here, they didn't put a strap on it, they just pulled them out. And I said, no strap? And he said, oh, these guys are professionals. They do this all the time. They pull out hundreds of boats. They do it all the time. And then they went and did that. Like, how does that happen? And it's kind of like I learned a long time ago about my tires on my four-wheel drive truck, you know, because a lot of times the big knobby treads will wear funny if you don't keep an eye on them. And you take it in and say, hey, these tires have got a 40,000 mile warranty, and they're wearing odd. Well, that's because your tire pressure's bad, your ball joints are bad, your alignment's bad, your steering rack bushings are bad. They've got a list a mile long of why it's not their fault. And that's exactly what he's getting with this guy with the jet pumps. Well, the jets aren't performing because the boat's too heavy, because he put the top house on the boat, because whatever. They just come up with all these reasons why they're not working right. The bottom line is you don't build a cylinder block out of fiberglass and put a metal sleeve in it and expect the fiberglass is going to hold the metal. I'm feeling a little gimped up because I'm not down in the hole wrenching. But these guys have got a way they like to do things, and the last thing they need is another opinion and another butt down in the hole and another set of hands. And he spent a lot of money, and it seems like nobody's doing them right. I mean, there's 3 cases right there: the jet builder, the boat builder, the guy that pulls the boat out and puts it on wooden blocks in the wrong spot and makes the bottom of the boat. You just can't buy competence. You think you can. Lower 48, maybe you have a lot more choice, you know? So you can weed, I don't know. It's tough. The jet builder's in Arkansas, so I don't know the answer. I am in the big town of King Salmon at the Alaska Airlines terminal. I'm going to catch a flight back to Anchorage, catch another flight back into Kenai. If you've never been here, you're not missing a whole lot. That's pretty much it. Sweatshirts, Alaska Airlines. Who could complain about getting picked up by the airport?
In fairness, it was sunny and beautiful here all day long, and then when I finally get to the airport to pick Brian up, it's like overcast and foggy and windy.
Welcome to Kenai.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for watching. We know you have other things that you could be doing, and we enjoy that you come along and spend your time with us.